Diligence make it for poor man rich, but slack hands be leaving my people stuck in a ditch. It's for my brothers with no jobs on the couch with the AC blasting, asking when this girl is coming home to get the keys to.
Shalom Israel, welcome back to the channel. I know it's been a minute. I was supposed to have this video out maybe like 3-4 weeks ago, right? I want you guys to forgive me. A lot of things been going on, but nonetheless, the work still has to continue. The work still has to, we still have to move on. So with that being said, today's lesson is the closeout of, how to keep the Sabbath holy or remember the Sabbath day. One of the two, whatever it is. These are my sources. I was supposed to put those out, and that's what I'm doing, right? So we are on the my first page. I have my little notes here. These are the highlights of what I gathered from the sources. But nonetheless, what I'm going to do is I'm going to read from these notes here. And you guys go back. I'm gonna have the sources links in the description box. Yeah, I'm gonna go ahead and link those there, and you guys go back and do the research yourself and see how we're supposed to keep the Sabbath day holy. I pretty much laid the groundwork. You guys just gotta finish it. Teamwork make the dream work, right? So with that being said, I got 3 scriptures I'm gonna read out. Then I'm gonna get right here into the notes, and then of course, I'll just be showing my resources. Now, where do the notes go? Here. All right. So the first ones we're gonna read is Malachai chapter 3 and verse 6. And it says, "For I am the Lord, I change not. Therefore ye sons of Jacob are not consumed." So right here we see in Malachi, the Most High is saying, I am the Lord, I change not. Right? He's saying I don't change. So what I tell you is what I tell you. I'm not going to change my mind on it. Right? I'm going to get the New Testament in the book of Hebrews to show you, even after the time of Christ, what the Most High say. Says the same thing. He says, I change not, right? And that's what we about to get, 10 and 7. It says this is Hebrews chapter 10, verse 7. Then said I, lo, I come in the volume of the book. It is written of me to do thy will, O God. So even here we see, right, that Christ is coming in the volume of the book, meaning he's coming in the whole book. It's written of him. To do thy will, oh God. What is thy will? Well, when you go, you read Deuteronomy chapter 28, verses 1 to 14. That'll be the will that Christ is speaking of. And also too, the prophecies and all that is speaking about Christ as well. But nonetheless, Daniel chapter 7, right? So I took you guys to those 2 scriptures just to show you guys that the Most High doesn't change, and that we're supposed to keep the whole volume of the book. Daniel 7 and 25, and this is, going to show you how it was prophesied that a nation of people would come and think to change times and laws, whose laws? God laws, right? God's time. So this is Daniel chapter 7, verse 25. It says, and he shall speak great words against the Most High, and shall wear out the saints of the Most High. Who are the saints? Speaking about the Israelites. And speaking those great words against the Most High, right? God isn't real. Science trying to disprove God, etc. And it says, and shall wear out the saints of the Most High, and think to change times and laws. So here we go. We have Esau, who, quote unquote, is the white man, nonetheless, is thinking to change times and laws. That's what they do. They tell us that a day begins and ends at midnight, when according to the scriptures, a day begins and ends at sundown. And that's historically proven. And that's in the references that I have on screen. And the laws, right? So going to say that the laws of God are done away with, or that the Sabbath day is now on Sunday, because that's something that Emperor Constantine did. right? And that's up here somewhere, nonetheless, right? And so they shall think to change times and laws, and they shall be given into his hand until a time and times and the dividing of time. So until, prophecy is fulfilled, until Christ's return, unfortunately, these things will be in Esau's power. But that doesn't mean that he actually changed the laws or that he actually changed the times. He just thought to change it. And he, duped the whole world into believing that, he changed it. Nonetheless, God never made those changes. So what the scriptures say is what we follow, right? And from there, that's all the scriptures. I think I needed that. No, I didn't. All right, so I'm gonna read from my notes, right? We're gonna read it over here. And yeah, so it says Sabbath day being recognized as the seventh day. So in history, historians, they knew, when they were doing their research, they knew that the Jews, right, or the Israelites, because it's more than just the tribe of Judah, they knew that they were keeping the Sabbath day on Saturday. But Christianity came along somewhere down the line, around the time of Constantine, and they went ahead and changed the Sabbath day. Nonetheless, so Sabbath in Christianity is the inclusion of a Sabbath day in Christianity, a day set aside for rest and worship, a mandatory practice described in the Ten Commandments, in line with God's blessing of the seventh day, making it holy, right? So that's in Genesis chapter 2, or at the end of chapter 1, I believe, where God rested from all creation and made the seventh day holy. He blessed it. That's the Sabbath. Because on it, God rested from all his work that he had done in creation. The practice was associated with the assembly of the people to worship in synagogues on the day known as Shabbat, right? Sabbath, Shabbat in Hebrew. All right. From there, we're going to read the second part. And so, this is Sabbath kept at evening, not midnight, right? Genesis 1 and 5. The Hebrew Shabbat, the seventh day of the week, is Saturday, but in the Hebrew calendar, a new day begins at sunset, or by custom, about 20 minutes earlier. And now it's important that we take note of that, because let me see. It's important that we take note of the Hebrews or the Israelites keeping these sabbatical customs, right, or keeping the laws of the Most High, the holy days of the Most High, at evening, right, because the Most High only dealt with the children of Israel. So of course, naturally they would already know, okay, this is when a day begins to end, because they would directly deal with God. All right, and I'm gonna show you something here, because the Most High have only dealt with the children of Israel. He's never dealt with anybody else. And I'm gonna actually get two scriptures on that. Give me a second. So this is Psalms chapter 147, verse 19. He showeth his word unto Jacob, his statutes and his judgments unto Israel. He have not dealt so with any nation, and as far as his judgments, they have not known them. Praise ye the Lord. So right here we see that the Most High has only dealt with the children of Israel. So his judgments, his ordinances, his laws, etc., anything that has to do with the Most High, only the children of Israel knew, and they had it. So that's why you see here where they say that by custom, about excuse me, let me go up a little bit, that on the Hebrew calendar, a new day begins at sunset, because, and you see it in Genesis chapter 1 as well, is that the Most High ordained that a day begins to end at sunset, right, evening to evening. One more second, I'm gonna get another scripture and we're gonna jump right back to it. Joel chapter 2 in verse 27, and this is just going to prove that the Most High has only dealt with the children of Israel. And so it says, and ye shall know that I am in the midst of Israel, and that I am the Lord your God, and none else, and my people shall never be ashamed. So you should never be ashamed that, the Most High is only dealing with the children of Israel. And also, you should never be ashamed that he is in the midst of the children of Israel. So when you see the Israelites, okay, God is dealing with them. He's only dealing with the children of Israel. Rather, if you see them, suffering from the curses, or rather you see, people trying to repent and come back, that's the Most High dealing with them. He's never dealt with any of the other nations, and that's scripturally proven. I just proved it. Jumping back to, the reference, right? Because I was just going to show you that, that's the reason why our people knew, when the day began and ends, because the Most High was directly dealing with us. Now, to get back to it, it says the Shabbat therefore coincides with what is now commonly identified as Friday sunset to Saturday night, when 3 stars are first visible in the night sky. So, goes to show you the Sabbath is Friday sunset to Saturday sunset, Saturday night, right? The historians know that. And that's why it's important to do your research, is because according to the scriptures, Sabbath is the 7th day. According to the Gregorian calendar, which is the calendar that we use over here in America, Saturday is the 7th day of the week. I mean, it's literally, we literally read from right to left. When you see a calendar, right? I have one on screen. When you see a calendar, you're reading from Sunday, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, Saturday. You don't start from Monday and then get to Saturday and then back to Sunday. No, you don't do it like that. That's only how they how they taught us during school, because we went to school on Monday, not Sunday. Nonetheless, Sunday is literally the first day of the week. Close that. So yeah, jumping back to it, the Shabbat therefore coincides with what is now commonly identified as Friday sunset to Saturday night, when 3 stars are first visible in the night sky. The Sabbath continued to be observed on the 7th day in the early Christian church. So even in the early establishment of the Christian church, they were keeping the Sabbath on the 7th day, Saturday. And then eventually, Constantine, right? Getting mixed up. Constantine ended up, making that changing it from Saturday to Sunday. And in these references, it covers that. Here, yep. Where Catholicism makes the change, and then also you have sun worship, right? I'll actually read this one real quick. Let me see. So it says, you see, at the first time, the cult of Mithraism, or sun worship, was the official religion of the Roman Empire, right? It says it stood as the greatest competitor to the new Christian religion. It had its own organization, temples, priesthood, roads, everything. It also had an official worship day on which special homage was given to the sun. That day was called the Venerable Day of the Sun. It was the first day of the week, and from it we get our name Sunday, right? And as you read down, right, let's just continue. When Constantine pressed his pagan hordes into the church, they were observing the day of the sun for their adoration of the sun god. So that's where the Sunday worship comes from. Is from the Venerable Day of the Sun. It was their special holy day. In order to make it more convenient for them to make change to the new religion, Constantine accepted their day of worship, Sunday, instead of the Christian Sabbath, right? Instead of the Sabbath, which had been observed by Jesus and his disciples. So I was going to show you that Constantine made this change from, what Christ actually kept was the Sabbath. From that's what they're speaking of when it says a Christian Sabbath. Constantine changed it. Remember that the way had been prepared for this already by the increasing anti-Jewish feelings against those who were accused of putting Jesus to death. Those feelings would naturally condition many Christians to swing away from something which was held religiously by the Jews. And that's where I'm gonna stop. You can read the rest on your own. But yeah, it was religiously held by the Israelites, the Jews, right? And then from there, after the death of Christ, that's where things started to get shaken up. And you had Constantine come through and make that change through the Council of Nicaea, and then you also had the Council of Laodicea. Look those terms up, because that's some important history on why a lot of things was changed and why it is how it is now. From there, we're gonna jump back over here to my notes. And so yeah, Christ's death does not change the day the Sabbath is kept. Jewish Christians continue to observe Shabbat, and Shabbat is just another word for Sabbath, right? Shabbat, but met together at the end of the day on a Saturday evening. In the Gospels, the women are described as coming to the empty tomb, and then it gets into the Greek word, I don't know what that is, lit, toward the first day, right, of the Sabbath. Although it is often translated on the first day of the week, this is made clear in Acts 20:7 when Paul continued his message until midnight, and a young man went to sleep and fell out of the window. Christians celebrate on Sunday because it is the day on which Jesus had risen from the dead, on which the Holy Spirit had come to the apostles. And then I have my little arrows here, because what they're speaking about when Christ died and he rose was excuse me. They're trying to say that when Christ died and rose, he changed the Sabbath day, but that's not the case. What happened was, and remember, when Christ died, he died on the Passover. He didn't die just in the midst of the week. Getting my thoughts congested, excuse me. But he didn't just randomly die and change the Sabbath. No, he died on the Passover night, and then on top of that, he actually rose in the midst of in the week. He didn't rise on a Sunday. So I mean, that itself invalidates their claim. But nonetheless, try not to get too far off topic and trying to stay on topic. But yeah, the Feast of Pentecost is what the apostles were keeping. When you read, I believe that's Acts 20:7. Yeah, I believe they were keeping the Feast of Pentecost. Nonetheless, because they're trying to say, that the apostles gathered on this day and had a meeting, that was the Sabbath. But no, that's not the case. Christ himself kept the Sabbath, and on top of that, was referenced as the Lord of the Sabbath. But nonetheless, going here, did Constantine change the Sabbath day? And that's what I've been speaking about. So Constantine seems to have made this change himself and not through the papacy. Since the papacy had not really come into being at that time, the papacy grew gradually out of the office of bishop, and for many years this was centered in Rome. In any case, it should be noted that in doing this, Constantine is not changing the Sabbath. He is merely making Sunday the official day of rest for the Roman Empire, right? So, because he doesn't have that authority, Constantine doesn't have that high authority to make it such a change in the laws of God. For one, he's a heathen, so he doesn't even have any reason speaking on the Sabbath, for that matter. But nonetheless, he doesn't have that authority to make such a change in the laws of God. Nobody does except God, So, with that being said, when that change was made, it was made for the Roman Empire. It wasn't made for, everybody else. That's what they're saying here. His motivation was probably not born out of hatred for the Jews. It's hard to say for sure why Constantine or any historical figure did what they did. That's in parentheses. But out of a desire to adopt what the Christians had practiced for nearly 2.5 centuries. Why it's important to stick to the laws of God, right? Change it over. Yeah, this is another source, nonetheless. So, and this is, what I interjected here, why it's important to stick to the laws of God. This is someone's opinion, by the way, right? This is the Willow website. And so in this portion of my notes that I'm showing you, and this is somewhere in here, right? This because this is an answer. But nonetheless, it's important to stick to the laws of God because the laws of God is, there to protect you from being misled. So if you don't know the laws of God and you just believe in what anybody is saying, then, you're not protecting yourself. And you potentially can be misled if that person has ill intent in his heart, or if he has been misled. So with that being said, stick to the laws of God, right? Joshua 1:8. Joshua 1:8. This book of the law shall not depart out of thy mouth, but thou shalt meditate therein day and night, that thou mayest observe to do according to all that is written therein. For thou shalt make thy way prosperous, and then thou shalt have good success. So with that being said, that's the reason why we stick to the laws of God. We'll make our way prosperous, and it is required for us to do everything that is written within the laws of God. From there, let's get back to it. It is important to remember that corporate worship with other believers is necessary and part of our obedience. But the day that your church body chooses to worship on is not really that significant, and that's a reason why, I put this in here, is to show you why you should still, why it is important to keep the laws of God, right? Exodus chapter 20 and verse 8. Check this out. It's taking us back to the laws because, remember the Sabbath day to keep it holy. 6 days shalt thou labor and do all thy work. This guy here is saying that the day your church body chooses to worship is not really that significant. It's very significant. Yeah, it's very significant because, for one, the Sabbath is assigned between us and the Most High. For two, the Sabbath never changes. And for three, the Most High gave us 6 days to work and do all our labor. So, by you telling me my church can choose any day to worship on the Sabbath, you're telling me I can do whatever I want and that, God doesn't matter, in so many words. Because God already told us in the scriptures and within the law that this is my day. I sanctified this day. This is my day. It's meant for you to come and worship me. You got 6 other days to do what you got to do. But on this day, the Sabbath of the Lord, you sanctify it. You're holy, right? You keep it holy, right? Remember the Sabbath day to keep it holy. 6 days shalt thou labor and do all thy work, but the 7th day is the Sabbath of the Lord thy God. In it thou shalt not do any work, thou nor thy son nor thy daughter, thy manservant, etc. Right? I went over that in the previous 2 lessons on Remember the Sabbath day. So if you need to, if you just, come into the channel for the first time, make sure you go back, jump in, and, go back and watch those 2 lessons and then tune into this one. Make sure you go back, do the research as well. No change documented in the Bible. And I don't actually need to get these. I'll take that out of there. But in both Old and New Testament, there is not a shadow of variation in the doctrine of the Sabbath. The 7th day, Saturday, is the only day ever designated by the term Sabbath in the entire Bible. And 24 minutes. This ain't gonna be that long. But yeah. So with that being said, the Sabbath day has only been recognized, as the Sabbath. Yeah, yes, in the scriptures it give reference to, other Sabbaths, but those are, days known, or holy days known as like the Passover, the Feast of Pentecost, right? They're a feast of the Lord, but they're referenced as Sabbaths, versus the 7th day Sabbath, who we've only known in the scriptures as being known as the Sabbath day. And from there, that concludes all my notes, on these few references. I'm gonna have these links in the description box below. So make sure you guys, go back and do that research. There is no excuse at the end of the day. And with that being said, this is my last reference. I'm just going to show you the different languages that the word Sabbath, or Saturday, or that Saturday in different languages, right? That's this website, right? Name for Saturdays in many languages proves which day is the true Sabbath. So it goes to show you that the other language is not Sunday. And so we got the Arabic, we got sabbath, which is close to Sabbath or Shabbat. We have the Shabbat in Armenian. Bosnian, we have Subota. Bulgarian, we have Sabota. Croatian, we have Sabatu. Croatian, Sabota. Czech, I forget. This is like a Russian word, but anyways, so Sabota. We got Georgian, Sabati. Greek, Savato, which is close to Shabbat or Sabbath. Hebrew, we got Shabbat. Hungarian, we have Sombat. Indonesian, Sabatu. Italian, Sabota. Latin, Sabaton. You see all these references to Sabbath or Shabbat, right? And these are all different, these are all different languages for the word Saturday, right? It's all reference to Shabbat, going to show you that the Shabbat is Saturday, right? Jump down here to Spanish, we have Sábado, right? Which is Saturday in Spanish. So with that being said, don't be fooled by modern tradition. Go back and do your research, It's just that it doesn't even really take much, something as simple as what is Sabbath day in Christianity, typing that into Google, a bunch of references will pop up. But with that being said, I appreciate you guys stopping by. I will have my next lesson, coming up within the next week. Have that out as well. It's a lesson I wanted to do on, the laws of brotherhood. So I'm kind of, I am getting into the laws. I was going to say deterrent, but no, because we're done with the Sabbath day. I did want to get into the holy days, but I'm going to get that one out first because I feel like, especially now, brotherhood is important. And and this is another way of showing why we should keep the laws of God. Is because, for one, it teaches you how to deal with your brothers, how to make sure your brother is maintained, and how to love one another, the civil laws, so to speak, because the laws of God is broken up into moral, civil, dietary, sacrificial, and ceremonial. You have 5 categories for the laws of God, and each category is important on how to serve God and how to love one another. That's what Christ was getting into. But nonetheless, with that being said, I want to say thank you guys for tuning in. Go back and do your research. And once again, shalom. Catch you guys in the next one. Peace.
What if these Hebrews wake up and realize that I've been lying, that they not from Africa but from Zion? That's why I'm crying, cause I know what's in store for me, for destroying history.